Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Real Recovery Podcast. I'm Natalie. I'm here with my co-host, Michaelis.
Hi.
And we have a special guest today, Marcy, if you want to say hello. Or not.
Hi, everyone. Sorry. So I've got these messages coming in and they were just in the way. Hi, everyone. I'm Marcy.
Yep. Hi, Marcy. Marcy and Michaelis. So, the name of our podcast is called Real Recovery, the AA Big Book Solution. So what does that mean? It means that we have all found a solution in the Big Book doing this specific Big Book study. It's not anything fancy. It doesn't have a name. It's not, Big Book Awakening or blah, blah, blah. It's just Big Book study, but for some reason it's really special and amazing. So this podcast, the purpose of it is for us to share our experience, strength, and hope about this process of going through the Big Book. So I have been through it. Michaelis is kind of the forerunner to it. So he has taken me through the process. And our special guest, Marcy, he also took Marcy through the process. And this is a very special episode for me personally, because Marcy was the one who introduced me to the process originally. So I'm sure we'll get into all that later, but we'll just open up the talking for to just see where this goes and to dig in. So Michaelis, you have a question for Marcy?
Marcy.
What?
I love you so much, man. It's so good to see you. So what started your journey with sobriety in general before you even did Big Book? Tell me about yourself. What's up?
Okay, so I'm a bit of a strange one in that, I live in Bali and we didn't have NA here, and so it was illegal, so I had to do AA, and I was a drugs guy, and basically I had to learn how to fit into AA. Well, I didn't really. Back in the old days, we didn't care. We just didn't have singleness of purpose or anything over here. We just did what we wanted, And
Wait, why was it illegal?
If you were in a room, what happened? Hello.
We love you.
Your video went off. But there you go.
Okay. So if you knew someone was a drug addict, you must report them to the police, or you can be arrested yourself. Okay, wow. That's the laws that were in Bali back in the day. It's since changed now. Over here, the NA people have actually got more legal than the AA people. So, it's interesting. But back then, that's what the situation was. And it wasn't.
Sorry, you said you were a drugs guy. What does that mean?
Okay. Hard intravenous drugs for many years. Is what that means?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And so, I had to find a place in AA eventually, and so in saying that, how that place I found was, it says one drink sets off a phenomenon of craving, and it doesn't actually say what for. So I managed to sort of fit myself in there, because I had one drink after 5 years of abstinence, and it set off a craving, for my drug of choice. I thought I was going to get away with the drink. I thought, this is nonsense. This one drink sets off a craving thing. But it went from I'm never going to do hard drugs again to I did them the next day. So and that was explained to me as that's an abnormal reaction. So one drink, that the body part of it was definitely set off by the drink for me. I did the experiment of the first drink, and it didn't work out well, because I was gone for 8 years and took a long time to come back. Yeah. What else do you want to know?
Well, like you said, you came in a long time ago. Like, what year did you first come to your first meeting?
Okay, I'm going to talk about that story because I had a really interesting little story happen the other day. So, my idea of a higher power and everything sort of changes a lot. At the moment, it's like it's an energy. In the beginning, it definitely was Sky Daddy. So it started off with me saying a prayer. I was 33 years old, and I said, if there's a God, help me. This is a prayer by myself, and I was just sort of over things. And the phone goes, and it's this old drug dealer friend of mine. And so he said, oh, you want to, I don't use anymore. Do you want to try, stop using? And I was like, yeah, I really do, and I put those, wow. I said the prayer and immediately the phone went. That's kind of unusual, And then all these years later, that stuff doesn't happen nearly as much to me. It used to happen a lot in those early years. That confirmation bias, even I might call it, But the other day it happened again, and that I just started, I haven't been doing much work with anybody or anything else. I don't want to catch COVID and all the rest of that stuff. I haven't been going to meetings, but this one guy wanted to do some work. He's a newcomer. And I says, all right, come over, we'll do some big book, And it was funny, that night before he came over, this guy that answered the phone that day just sent me a message. I haven't heard from that guy in years, And yet then I got this message from him, all these years later. And it was like, that's kind of like that original thing where I said, if there's a God, help me, So, yeah, I don't know. That was the story.
So that was when you were 33, right?
Sorry?
That was when you were 33?
I was 33, but this thing that happened, the guy, the phone thing, it happened 2 days ago.
Yeah, totally. I went back to when you came in, though.
Okay, cool. So I was 33 years old, and it took me a little while to actually really stop using and drinking, and then I did. And I stopped for close to 5 years. I was in Bali here, and I was doing, I learned about the big book from a few people over here who took me through it, and it was, I've done a lot of AA big book, and I guess what the big difference for me learning this way was. Okay, so Michaelis came into town, and all these people were going, oh, Michaelis, everywhere you went, it was Michaelis. As I was like, I don't like this guy. I won't say it on here what I said, but it was
please say it.
This is the place to say it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm me. I don't really give a fuck. It's like I said, okay, so Michaelis has learned some stuff off me, by the way. This is Michaelis when he came in. He was a little bit flabby. He was smoking. This is what I said to him. I was kind of an angry guy at 10, I was confused. I said, you're Jewish, you're American, you smoke, you're a DJ, and I don't like you. That's how I thought I'll sort this guy out. I'm sick of all these people saying, oh, Michaelis, and he just looked at me and he says, cool, when you want to go through the book? And I was like, okay, that was a pretty good response. Some of his responses since I've managed to wind him up, but then that one I didn't. He just came out, and I was like, and that made a big difference to me, actually, that I could be that. He didn't bite. He didn't get prideful. He didn't defend himself. He just said, let's do this. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
So did he say yes?
Did he say yes?
No, did you say yes? The answer is no.
No, I did say yes. Yeah, I did.
To the big book.
Not then, though. You hated me before, though. Before this even happened, you couldn't stand me.
No, because I heard you share and everything else, but we've had a lot of people coming from America into Bali and saying, this is the way we do it. We do it like this. And we're like, well, we've been around a long time and we don't, And so, again, I've been way more open-minded. The people like you used to say this to me, Michaelis. You'd say the 12th step is taking people through the book. It's not the arguing in business meetings. Leave that to people who like to argue, And so, that was sort of something. You weren't here to get me to do business meetings and change the way we did it in Bali, which was another plus. So yeah.
let me stop and just get this timeline straight. So you said you came in at 33 and then you were like clean and sober
That was-
5 years, and then you drank again for some
Yeah.
years, and then you came back. And then you, after how long then until you met Michaelis?
Okay, so this is the timeline. I was 33 years old when I first got sober in New Zealand,
Okay.
in Narcotics Anonymous.
Okay.
And then I came to Bali and they didn't have Narcotics Anonymous, so I did Alcoholics Anonymous. And then I learned a little bit about the big book, you know, which for me was okay. You know, I found it, for me, okay, so that they say, you know, where do people get stuck in NA? On the first step. That's when you have to pick up the pen and actually do something. Where do people get stuck in AA? On the fourth step, when you actually have to pick up a pen and do something. You know? So I like the fact that I didn't have to do that much. I could say I'm on the first 3 steps, you know, and not really do that much. But in saying that, I'd done years of 4 steps, years of 5th steps, 6 and 7 sort of worked sometimes, you know. But I found myself still, you know, basically not happy, you know, not a happy person. You know? And so.
Did you do
the
steps
time-
8 and 9?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So
I've
you
done-
went
I've done
through
all
the
the steps.
whole step
Yes.
process.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
But you
Many
still weren't
times.
happy.
Yeah, many times I've done it, you know. And I was just confused because it's like, it's not really working, you know. And I was still angry and still confused. Okay, so then the timeline goes, I was like about 3 years in Bali and then I pick up. And then once I picked up, I was out there for 8 years and it got really, really bad. I mean, it was bad before, but this time got really bad. And then finally I arrived back at the Ruko. That's our sort of club room thing or whatever you call it. We have the meetings in Bali. And
How did that happen? How did you end up back there?
Oh, I don't really want to talk about the thing. Okay, basically, someone was paying for me and they threw me out. You know, they'd had enough of this druggie, you know, who looked like they were going to die in their bed, you know. And so this person, you know, did a great thing, saved my life basically, and threw me out. And so once I was thrown out, I had no money, nowhere to go. And I crawled back into AA on a Friday night. There was a couple of guys that really helped me, you know, tried to feed me and that sort of thing, you know. I'll just talk about that too. It took me 8 months to actually get one day back up again, you know. So
Wow.
I did 2 meetings a day. I had nowhere else to go. I was completely broken. I was 49 kilos when I came.
Oh my
It was
God.
about 100 pounds, you know. Yeah, it was. I was just waiting to die, and I really was close to death. You know, I had a ruined liver, and you know, Hep C, and you know, just you know, being dumped from going, you know, having everything paid for, you know, a kept man to now on the, you know, broke and all the rest of it, you know, and yeah, I just had nowhere to go, so I crawled into AA, you know, and I was super angry in those first days, man. I remember a few situations there where I accused people of using, and you know, just went through there like, you know, pissing people off, you know, just being super aggressive. That's what I used to do. I still do sometimes, whatever. Yeah. So then basically I crawled in there, and then 8 months later I got sober, and I was 44 years old then.
Mhm.
And so then I met Michaelis when I was 54, I guess.
So 10 years sober and clean.
Yes.
And so that span of the 10 years of recovery, how was that for you? Were you happier? Did you do the steps again? How did you do the steps?
Obviously I'm a hell of a lot happier than what I was when I was out there. And yes, I had some great people and stuff, but the interesting thing is, I guess, look, the difference is Michaelis got me to do the 12 step. You know, that was it. He really did. He showed me the forwards, and he got me doing that 12 step. You know, it was, you know, he went through. This is about the 12 step. Look, it says the 12 step. This is about the 12 step. Yeah, you know, this, you can't do it without the 12 step. You know, it wasn't, you know, that thing of, oh well, I don't like the 12 step, I'm going to do these steps. He was like, this is the 12 step. The way you connect with this power is through the 12 step. And having done the 12th step, I connected with the power, consistently, whenever I wanted to. I was the guy that grabbed this thing and started doing the continually unifying newcomers through steps meeting. And
wait, what is that? What is that actually called? That's an acronym, right?
No,
Come on.
you say it.
C.U.N.T.S. It's called C.U.N.T.S.
The
Marcy's
cunts meeting.
favorite word is cunt, and I feel like he basically called me a cunt many times. Actually,
Well,
like a DJ Jew cunt.
It's a
American
good
fag
thing.
Oh my God.
smoking cunt.
It's a good thing, My daughter actually made a little sign for it. I'll go and get it. Just 1 second.
It's really awesome because honestly, before I moved to Bali, like the word cunt, literally, I was never even, no one says that shit.
Yeah.
And when I moved, there we
See,
go.
that
It's
makes-
so good. It's really
Oh
good.
my gosh, it's a professional sign for those of you
Totally.
listening.
I can do calligraphy.
It
So
looks
yeah.
like calligraphy.
Anyway, we used to put that sign up, and it really took off. There was like we do the morning meetings, and then I'd say who wants to come and do the group, and for some reason a lot of people did, And
What
we've
group?
got, we had big groups of people here every day for man, it was for 5 years I did that stuff. I just
What do you mean about
Yeah.
the groups and doing the stuff? What is that?
people coming round to my house to do the big book study, and I
Okay.
did a little different. I did it different than Michaelis, because what I would do was I get the people here, and I'd make sure I get the new guy, and the guy who hadn't taken anyone through, and I get them to take them through that first page where we do the triangle and all that sort of stuff, and try and get that feeling you get, from, the actual involved feeling you get, as opposed to when you're just doing the steps. It's like, fuck, I don't want to do the steps. I don't want to see the guy. I don't want to do any of this. It doesn't feel good. I don't like it, And then when you actually give it back, even though there might be someone there that's never done the steps, they could do that triangle. This is a disease of the body, mind, and spirit. There are 3 parts of the program. It was like, wow, and it really was that one of 12 step for dummies. Just do that, and people could do it, and they could get that feeling very quickly on those first couple of pages, that set aside prayer. I changed a lot of things. I put new experience. Michaelis probably didn't like that, but
Michaelis doesn't like that.
It's so
well,
good.
hey, I've just been doing big books work with people who've been over here, and they've had their big books filled out from people, and I don't think the message gets diluted if you have something underlined that someone else had not underlined. Someone, there's a whole, every time I do it with someone and they've done it with someone else, it's different. It is
Totally.
slightly different.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what I really, back in the days, I was Mr. Anal. You do it like, this is it. You don't do it like this, you're going to relapse. I since do some program stuff with people with some major, a lot more time than me. 28 years as one guy. He's gets himself into trouble on social media, and he comes and sort of sees me just to do some work around it. And we go through the book and we point out, the big book says that. Is that true for you? This guy says no, and I go, it's not true for me either. So just because it's in there doesn't mean it's necessarily true for me. Definitely, some stuff's true, some stuff. I always look. When I first started doing this, I was an NA guy who wanted to find all the shit I could on Bill Wilson, and I found a lot. And I'd like to find as much as I could on Bob, and I couldn't find anything. And so Bob was the guy that did what with this method basically of you find newcomers and you take them through the book, and you basically happy. Bill's sort of like if Bill was around today, you could just imagine, he'd be on every, antidepressant and all the rest of it. He'd be doing bloody, ayahuasca probably, whatever. And, whatever. I don't care anymore. That's the thing. I'm not anti anything anymore. It's not really, whereas before I would be, I definitely used to get a lot more polarized around any subject, and if you weren't doing what I was doing at the time, then you were doing it wrong, That reminds me, Michaelis was doing, we might as well just be ourselves here.
Of course.
Michaelis was doing semen reduction.
Semen.
I tried semen reduction and I ended up in hospital. So
what semen reduction?
Yes, we tried. Look, he does a lot of stuff. He's doing the gym now. I used to be, and he wasn't. Then I told him he should stop smoking as well, you know, and so now he doesn't, you know. But yes, I try everything, man. You know, it's like whatever, you know, you name it, I'm trying it, or I've tried it, or, you know, vegan, you know, whatever, you know. Some
you
stuff.
still sun your nuts?
Sorry?
You still sun your nuts?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm just lazy, you know. If I don't get an amazing result out of something, I give up, you know.
Okay.
So that
I
was
just
the good
always
thing
pictured
about
you in
the.
that position.
Huh?
Like I always just pictured you like fantasize about you in that position in your backyard.
You fantasized?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's always wanted me.
You know, his ankles by his ears and shit.
Oh, you guys are awesome. So I have a question, Marcy. So you started this work with Michaelis. And so did you immediately start like finding a bunch of people to take through this process yourself, or did it take you a while to warm up to that?
No, because I know a lot of people here, you know, so I did try pretty quickly, you know.
Okay.
And then it turned into that group thing. So it was a little bit of pride. Hey, look how many people are coming to my house, you know. And not only that, I actually got to feel really good about it. And it was a lazy way of doing things, because it really meant that I could sit around there and still feel great. And I got someone else to do it. Well, I just, you know, well, that's not quite right. You
were the elder statesman.
Yeah.
The director.
Yeah. The director.
Yeah, the director.
I was definitely running the show. Yeah.
Wait,
but, hey, it was amazing. It was really good, and a lot of people got it, and a lot of people tried it. You know. Yeah. So you know.
I wonder how did you take people through the fifth step if you're doing it in a group?
Okay, so very few of the, say, 18 people that would turn up would be doing it with me. But I've done quite a few fifth steps. Is like people, you know, you get better doing it. Michaelis is an expert at the fifth step, because I did a fourth, and, you know, I've done fourth and fifth, so many of them, you know, and he was the first guy that, you know, sort of nailed me on some stuff that was in there, some stuff that I was being a victim around. And he was like, no, that's not right. I'm not gonna tell that stuff in here, because it's, you know, it is about family and all the rest of it. I actually had my daughter found out about my fifth step from my daughter found out about my fifth step from this guy in the fellowship that was seeing her, and he told her.
Really?
It was
how?
Yeah.
How
it was
did he find out about it?
interesting, but, you know, basically I'm really glad it happened now, because you know, even my daughter, there's no secrets from her anymore, you know, but it was a little bit disturbing, that thing, but it worked out well.
It always
Everything
does.
happens for a reason, apparently.
Yeah, 100%.
So you jumped into the work, and then you started doing it with groups, but you said you weren't doing it with all the individuals in the group. So does that mean that like you had people you were taking through individually and they were taking others through, but you would meet in this big group? I'm just trying to understand.
No, I actually had people that really came to me and said, let's keep going. And then I had other people in that group who, because I got them to try it and they felt quite good about it, then they continued to start doing it. So it's that, you know, it's what do you call it, a pyramid scheme or whatever. You know, it's like it does spread out, you know, and especially when you get to enjoy doing it as opposed to it being a nightmare, you know.
Yeah.
And then when you get better at it and you realize that, you know, the fourth step is not what people think it is, you know. It's not a confessional. It's you know, what's cutting me off from the energy flowing in, what's cutting me off from connecting with this power. That's what it's for, you know. I used to do it, man. I had so many four steps that had the same people for the same reason, and, you know, I thought eventually if I do enough four steps, these people will start behaving better, you know. But it never happens. It just, you know, eventually to the thing that's it's about me and me being okay exactly with the way things are, you know.
So you said it's not a nightmare. So before this big book experience for you, in your working with others prior to in your sobriety, doing 12-step work, sponsoring, how was that for you?
Not much fun, really. You know, like, look, I don't want to put shit on things, but all the, you know, when you do lots and lots of questions and stuff, I mean, I've done big book awakenings, I've done all that stuff. It's really, you don't get much bang for your buck. The thing with this thing is I didn't have to do that much to feel amazing. I'm a really selfish person, you know. I'm not going to give too much out, you know, you guys know my partner. She's just giving and loving, and she's amazing, and she just, you know, just been doing this shit for fucking years. And I used to put shit on her. I'd be like, you don't really believe in God. You know, you do Sailor Bob, all this thing she does, you know. But basically, she's been this great model, but she wasn't the person that got the message across to me, even though she's got the message. She's been doing the message, you know, for, I don't know, nearly 30 years now or something, you know. But
because she does Al-Anon, right?
Huh?
It's probably because she does Al-Anon, right?
Yes, as well. Yeah. Definitely. Her and me have that. Definitely. That's a fantastic program for, you know, being able to handle people. You know, definitely, yeah. I mean, you can use AA for anything, I believe. That's what I believe. But Melinda will believe that, you know, some stuff is done by therapists, some stuff's done, you know, through other ways. I'm a sort of a person, you know, that believes that you probably could do most stuff here, maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So your experience before, you didn't really like working with others. And then now in this big book study process that we do, it was a totally different experience for you.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely get confirmation bias. If you got someone telling you you're going to connect with this power if you do this, and then suddenly all these people turn up and you're feeling like, oh man, this is fantastic, you know, and you get that built up, oh, this is great. And I really do feel that I was connecting with this power. You know, I've been doing a bit of an experiment lately in that I haven't been doing much. It's been COVID, and I've been trying not to get sick. You know, I'm nearly 62, and you know, I haven't, you know, I don't want to go into that anyway. I'm nearly 62. I don't want to get COVID. So I've been isolating a lot. And for a year and a half, I did serious meditation as well, you know. So I drifted off doing the 12 step and started doing serious meditation. And lately I've been doing nothing, you know. So I haven't been meetings. I haven't been doing anything. And it's just, I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm doing it because of the situation we're in at the moment. And just seeing how mad I go, you know. And the interesting thing was, I really could see that because I just started working with someone recently again, how great it was. It was like, you know what, I'm sort of, I'd be hearing my girlfriend doing Zoom, and she'd be, you know, saying for the 20 millionth time, I'm an alcoholic, and I'm going, oh God, you know, when are they going to just, you know, oh my God, you know, and then she's helping all these people, and I'm going, fuck those people, they're such idiots, you know. And you know, but I'm pretty cognitive these days, so I would catch myself and go, oh, you're a bit off, aren't you, you know. And then when my head would start up in the morning about, you know, this one's doing that, or that subject's wrong, or this, you know, whatever it grabs hold of, you know, I would be able to catch myself and stop it. But that doesn't mean I was happy, joyous and free doing it, you know. I wasn't that person I was when I was you know, the happiest times was taking people through the book. You know, in that 5 years, I was doing it like every single day. There wasn't a day I missed. I mean, Michaelis is, you know, we still say sponsor or whatever. I would ring him up. I know it's weird. Other people ring him up and he chats to them. But for me, I'd be complaining and he'd say, oh, have you worked with someone today? And I'd go, no. And he'd go, well, ring me back when you have, you know. And so I stopped ringing him, you know.
Well,
but I did work with others most days for 5 years, and it definitely worked.
So why'd you stop?
I started doing more meditation. I was doing Joe Dispenza, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm curious if you can share about your recollection of how me and you met and how you talked to me about the big book study. Do you remember?
Okay. 1 second.
Yeah. Okay.
I love it. This is like literally the best.
Totally.
I hope you guys watch this video because he's just amazing. His glasses are amazing. Everything about him is epic. I love Marcy.
It's nice to have a reunion.
I know, right?
This is where it all began.
Yeah, it's still
for me.
Okay. So I'm at this meeting I don't really do much of in another fellowship. It didn't gel with me. Again, it was one of these ones. There's the fellowships that are really stringent, you know, and you do this and you write this down and you've got everything like that. I'm just like, geez, that sounds like a control freak's paradise, you know. And so I'm in there anyway, and I sit there, and Natalie's sitting across from me, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I shared about doing this meditation. That's what it was. I shared about the meditation, and because it's a kind of a special type of meditation, and it's got a lot of manifesting and all this sort of stuff in it. I talked about this, and Natalie comes up to me after the meeting. Was it you came up? Yeah, and you said, "Are you doing Joe Dispenza?" You know, and I said, "Yes, I am." And so that was our first thing, and then I passed on a little bit, I guess, about that was when I was still really right into doing the big book, I think. So I then tried to get you to, I don't know, did I get you to come to a meeting, or what, like one of our big book studies, or I don't know.
No, you were like, do you want to do a big book study? And I was like, no. And you said, like, your energy was like, you don't understand, this big book study will change your life. Like, that's my recollection of you. I don't know if you said that or if it was just your energy, but I was like, okay, this big book study, okay, I'll try it. And you just went on and on about how amazing it was. And I was like, well, I'll give it a go.
That doesn't sound like me, does it, Michaelis?
No, definitely, you're not passionate about anything.
Okay, so what I got to ask you, Natalie, is, you know, after that meeting, did you sun your nuts?
This is the first I'm hearing about sunning nuts, and I don't have any, for the records.
Oh, okay.
Marcy was like, I feel like you're the one who told me about trying that, right?
Probably.
Yeah, you told me.
What's
to do
the
that.
benefit?
I feel like testosterone. Right?
Testosterone.
Yeah, totally.
Testosterone.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you should start a podcast.
That's that. A pod. Oh, a pod. I get it.
Yeah.
Podcast.
Oh, yeah. Casting
there
the
you
pods
go.
up to the sun. Right on. So then what happened? You said no, but then what'd you do? I forget.
Well, I mean, I said no, but then his enthusiasm sold me on doing it. And so then, Marcy, you were like, do you have a big book? And I didn't even have a big book anymore, because who needs—
Shame on you.
Yeah, who needs a fucking big book? And so, but the next meeting, you brought your big book, or you got a piece of paper and you drew the triangle. So for those of you listening that don't know what we're talking about here, the AA symbol is a triangle and a circle, and it says unity, service, recovery. Well, that's a very mystical, powerful symbol. And I had seen it for 25 years and just kind of never really seen it. And then Marcy, after the meeting, he's like, let me show you something. He just dove straight into this symbol and he explained it. And when he explained that the service part of the triangle related to healing our spirit, and we heal our spirit through 12-step service work, it blew my mind forever, because it explained why I was miserable in my sobriety for almost 20 years, because I never really worked with others, because it's a nightmare and I don't want to do it, and I'm selfish and it's boring and it's too much pressure. So,
okay,
yeah.
so we've all experienced that. You did, I did, and Michaelis did as well. We all, I was 10 years, you were 10 years, and I don't know how many years you
I
were,
was
but
like
anyway.
18 years when
Right.
you showed me that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Definitely mind-blowing for me, 100%. It's
Awesome.
funny, Marcy, because I feel like my recollection of why you asked me to take you through the book was we were like standing outside of the Ruco, and you were trying to get Ferdy to get into the meeting, and he wouldn't go, or he was like kind of being weird. And I just like walked by and was like casually like, yo, Ferdy, what's up? Why don't you come in? It'll be fun. And he like came in. That's what happened, right?
Yes, because I was giving him a hard time about not coming in. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that too. Yep.
Yeah, totally. And you're like, you thought that you didn't know there was another way. You know what I mean? To like get someone to do something.
No.
Yeah.
True.
I feel like it was after that meeting that you asked me. And I was
So,
surprised too. Because I heard
Yes,
from
it
everybody.
was actually. It is. It was. Yeah, it was that. That was the time I saw you do that, and I thought, yeah, okay, cool. And so that, but then I still was like, I'm gonna test you, you know. So I tested you, and you did okay that time. So yeah.
how did you test him?
with that I don't like you thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Michaelis came on to Bali. There was all this talk about this Michaelis and this big book stuff, and you didn't like it. But then after a while, and then this thing happened with a guy that Michaelis invited into the meeting. That was the thing for you that was like, oh, and then you asked Michaelis to take you through the process.
Oh, look, the thing is, you're supposed to get basically you're supposed to try and recruit people for yourself.
Right.
I want to take you through the book, but everybody was going, oh, you should ask Michaelis to take you through the book, and so I was like, no, why? No, not interested. Same like you were. Whenever it's how you get that initial thing across. I mean, I was probably forceful, and somehow you still did it. Some people you're forceful, it doesn't work. So I mean, I've learned to really get good at sort of checking people out and seeing what they need for me to get the message across a lot more than I used to. Yeah.
That's a great point, because I'm actually working with somebody. He's super enthusiastic and he's been sober like forever, but nobody is saying yes, and he's getting frustrated, and he's like tapped out, his look, because once you announce it and once you ask people, you've like tapped out everyone at that meeting. So then what do you do? So I'm curious if either Michaelis or Marcy, if you have thoughts on that.
You want to go first?
Okay, basically here there was a competition in the end for who was going to get the people in the meetings. I mean, okay, so I've got some ways of doing it. The way of doing it is you listen to a newcomer in a meeting. You don't sit there, like, I know, look, we all want to be the great share, and we're all sitting there thinking, what am I going to say that's amazing, and blah, I'm going to be funny, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I just changed it a lot. I listened to the newcomer. I really listened. And so then when I heard something, I could then go up to them 2 days later and say to them, oh, are you still whatever it was that they were talking about? And, people don't do that. They don't go, you don't take, my girlfriend asks questions of people. I don't, I'm not really interested, I'm not, so I had a reason to be interested this time. So I started doing that. And I also did something else, which was really amazing, is not big, what's that thing? The
Back to basics.
Back to basics. Back to basics has got a actual thing you do to get newcomers. It tells you that, ask in your morning meditation and do all this stuff. So I did exactly what the back to basics thing said. And I would then send out messages because it says you write down names, and I'd send those messages to those people. And then, you send 20 messages out, you're going to get 5 back. And out of those 5 back, then I would do some recruiting. So it really was like a bit of a sales thing for me, because not that I was a salesman, but I did work out things that worked for that, and it was extremely successful. And you have that thing of, once you're carrying that energy, again, the confirmation bias thing, you get people, loads of people then, it's that, it's Joe Dispenza stuff. You start manifesting, you start attracting, and suddenly it's like, oh, wow, and then all the other people, I got people pissed off at me. They're like, fucking Marcy, he's, you do something in AA, people are going to get pissed off, fucking getting all the newcomers, we got to get in first, that sort of thing,
Awesome. So can you share, before I get Michaelis's answer, what is this back to basics method thing? Because I'm interested in what that is exactly.
It's not AA approved literature, but it's what they used to do in the old days. And they say things like, before you were allowed into a meeting, you must be a card carrying member, which means sponsorship was about getting sponsored into the meeting after you'd done some work. You just couldn't go there like we do these days. I have another thing that I do in the book that, Michaelis doesn't do. And that was, when you go through those figures of how many books we sold.
Right.
I think I go through it and I show you that 300,000 copies sold, 150,000 recovered alcoholics, however you know that, but, because it's anonymous and all the rest of it. But, in 2001, it's like 20 million books sold and 2 million people recovered, and so things have changed and things have dropped. And why have they dropped? Because back in the day, you didn't just do meetings-based recovery. You had to do the steps before you were allowed in, so, yeah.
Totally. So the process was something about praying and writing down people's names?
It was one of the things you do in the morning, you know, upon awakening, we think about the 24 hours ahead. We ask God to direct our thinking. We ask that it be devoid of blah, 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 you know it all. And
Right.
so basically, and it says we think about the 24 hours ahead, and then we actually ask for some people who we can help, and we write them down who we think we might be able to help, you know. And
Okay.
mate, that was very successful. It was like I did that with some people, and you know, I started doing that a little bit as well. But yeah, and that helped me with doing this method because I got more people.
Cool. What about you, Michaelis? I'd love to hear your thoughts on what I was saying about,
About how I got people.
yeah, how do you get people?
Well, I started going to this meeting called the 10 at 12, which was like a late night meeting that a lot of like new people were kind of going to. And then after that meeting, we would all fellowship at this place called Swingers on Beverly and stay there until it closed, 3 or 4 in the morning, you know. And I hated meetings at this point. I hated everybody in meetings. But I knew I
You didn't
needed
hate
to come.
me.
Well, no, this was in LA. I didn't hate
I know
you
you didn't know me. That's why.
yet. Not yet. So yeah, I mean, I basically would just talk about the stuff that I was learning in the book because it was like new information and I was excited about it, especially a lot of the history stuff. Like I thought that some of that stuff was cool and it kind of felt almost like insider information, you know, and like people were sort of into that, you know. So I would just kind of like tell these stories and people would be curious about it. And I'd be like, hey, do you want to go through this with me? And they're like, oh, I already have a sponsor. I'm like, oh, I'm not trying to sponsor you. Let's just go through the book. I need to practice it anyway, you know? So it was kind of like really casual. I didn't ever mention the word sponsor. And it was just like collecting people to take through the book and spending time building rapport. I mean, it was just that simple. But, you know, oftentimes I tell people like, you know, ask people to do you a favor, you know, and like be of service to you by allowing you to take them through the book, you know, if you can't find people. And yeah, I mean, that was really it. But what I wound up seeing is that like because the message that I was passing on had depth and weight, it was attracting more people like fast. Like I went from working with 4 people to 14 people within a month, you know. And then I just kept up with it because I was so attracted to the feeling that I was getting each time, and I just wanted more of that, and I just haven't stopped since then, you know. And I haven't gotten bored yet. Still doing it even more now since COVID, actually, because now it's
Yeah.
like, actually it's so crazy. I've worked with so many people like you, Natalie, who I've never even met. You know what I mean? That's what's so nuts. Like I've finished the process with like so many people that I haven't even like hugged or seen in person. It's crazy to me. So
What's
yeah,
crazy is all of us have a Bali connection. We were all living there, but I've never met Michaelis in person. I've met Marcy in person, but yeah, we've never physically met yet. So
yeah.
there you go.
I'm just meeting Marcy now.
Hey, that was something that when you said the book thing that was inside information, I always said that the book's in code, and unless you got someone who's experienced and knows how to pass that code, then it doesn't make sense, and it just doesn't sink in, mate. You know, it really does have to be explained. I remember when I did Bill's story, you know, all I had in common with Bill was I was very lonely. The rest was like, nah, you know. And then once I went through it, you know, now the whole thing's, you know, highlighted, you know, I relate to him an awful lot, you know. The other one was it's a basic text, must be taught and studied, you know. It's like when you go to school, if you give someone a book of, you know, trigonometry or something and say, go and read that and come back and do the exam, then, you know, 5% of the population will be able to do it, but 95% won't, you know. It really has to be, you know, taught by someone who actually, you know, a bit like I'm a surf coach, a bit like being a surf coach. You should be able to surf before you're a surf coach.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and it's funny, like the more I do Bill's story with people, the more things I relate to, and like on different things. I mean, that's the cool thing about the book is it's like always evolving. It's always meaning something different. And I never get bored of it. like today, this morning, I was leading a group book session and we were talking about, the spirit of the universe knows neither time or limitation, which launched into like a 45-minute discussion about good and evil. And it was amazing, it was such a beautiful and deep thing. And I just had to like take a moment and be like, we had this conversation and we had this moment because of this book right now, and it's just, my life gets so filled with that. And it's awesome. It's really cool.
I love it. I actually was in the book with somebody earlier and we were reading on the page 32, I think, where it says most alcoholics could stop if it was early enough, but the problem is they don't want to, right? And my friend that I'm doing the book with, she's like, I've never seen this before. I've read this a million times and I've never seen this. So
what is she, stupid?
It's in code.
That's funny. How's Melinda doing?
She's great. She's always doing great, mate. She's busy as always, helping others as always. She has she's had some real success in the Indonesian fellowship with like one of her sponsees. Actually, one of her sponsees in NA has now got like 13 sponsees,
Whoa.
taking through the NA thing, that's, people actually, there was around the men, there was people that did it. There was a whole lot of people that, do the steps working guide in Jakarta and everything, not so many here. But this girl has gotten so many people actually doing the steps in NA, which, still is fantastic, I mean, awesome. She's obviously getting some sort of buzz out of what she's doing. So, yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that. That's really
awesome.
Cool.
Well, that's what I remember.
If you're enjoying what you're doing, you do it well. If you're, if you're not, then, and also like you and me, Michaelis, we did the 4th and 5th step, but experienced at it. It's like you would make a fantastic counselor. You are someone who's really good at going, nah, that's bullshit. When, 5 other people said, oh, you poor thing, you're good at picking bullshit out, so that comes experience of doing it over and over and over and over. That's how you get good at something. You don't get good at something from reading a book, you get good at it through experience, through years of doing something. I don't know how many years you've been doing this now.
Which part, the book or working with people?
The 12, the 12 step. Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this book work like for 12 years.
Yeah, I think. There you go. Yeah. You're probably getting up near the 10,000 hours now, absolute experts. Huh?
I hope so.
Yeah, you get good at doing stuff when you do it, I mean, and it was great for me the other day. That's the nice message I've got, that after maybe a year of not working with others, I worked with others and it's exactly the same it did. I felt lifted up. I felt fantastic. And I was like, Jesus, I need to do more of that, because, I felt great, as opposed to before I'd be going, I ain't doing that shit, it's rubbish sort of thing.
Great reminder.
Cool. You can always go back to it and it always works. It's awesome.
Yeah, it really does. That was, at any time you want to pick it up and start doing it again, it connects you with a power greater than yourself. And look, that weird shit again, some good stuff started happening to me the moment I did it, Wow. I know I can't expect that to happen, but it sort of did,
Yeah, that's the magic of it, 100%.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Well, thank you, Marcy. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No.
Well, I was just going to personally thank you for carrying the message to me, because you having that willingness and living in this solution, it's changed my life. I took 21 years off my sobriety date in 2020 as a result of this work. And I mean, I have changed, my life has changed, everything about me has changed. If you wouldn't have reached out to me that day, I mean, we wouldn't be here on this podcast and my life wouldn't be what it is. So thank you.
Well, that kind of link came through, again, Joe Dispenza. That was a weird one, because that was how that one started. So it's again, it is an energy, and it can be big book and it can be meditation. I mean, most people are, connecting with their power through step 11. I mean, that's what it says. It says sort through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact. That's so 11's good for it too. It's just 12 is it's got a bit more. I find it's more. I mean, the other one's really good for life and all the rest of it, but that actually lifted up feeling, you get it when you're around people. You don't get it on your own. I think I've tried to get it on my own.
And you're doing something too, like you're actually
I hate
taking
people.
physical action.
Yeah.
I know you do. Yeah, no, but it's really good to see you smile. I remember when you did less of that.
I still got a few teeth left, but not many.
It's impressive. Right on. I love you, Marcy. I hope I get to hug you again someday.
Yes.
Sure.
I would love to hug both of you guys. Maybe some kind of Bali.
Hey, none of that anymore, Natalie.
No hugging?
I was just being a smart ass.
I know. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. It's been so much fun and amazing. The cicadas are super loud, so I hope they're not too loud, but
I can't hear them at all.
Oh, cool. Michaelis, you have any questions or comments you want to say?
I love you, man. That's it. I really love you, and I'm gonna miss seeing you in person. So I hope I get back to Bali someday and I get to see you again.
Yeah, Bali's awesome.
Yeah, you've had a really good impact on my life, and you've taught me a lot, and I really appreciate you. So
Surf's been pumping.
What?
He said
surf has been pumping. This is what surfers say. They say, it was pumping. I went left. I went right. It was pumping.
Okay.
But it was. Yesterday was,
And less people too, so I'm sure it's epic, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of nice, look, COVID's horrible for what's happening to people and everything, but, as far as the actual air breathing and the, no traffic and, less crowds, and it's lovely. Yeah, it's like Bali in the 90s, so yeah.
That's awesome, man.
You have anything else to say, Marcy, before we stop recording?
Do we have to say the Serenity Prayer?
No, but we can. Would you like
as well?
To? Okay.
Let's do that. I haven't said it in years. No, not years, but I don't know, months.
Let's do it.
Ready?
Okay.
Yeah.
God
grant us
the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Keep coming back.
There's only 3 of us, but it still sounds fucked up.
We're out of
just
sync.
Can't get it right.
Thank you all
that
so
wasn't
much.
as bad as I thought it was. I actually quite enjoyed it.
Good.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. We can continue chatting, but please tune in next time for our next episode. Thank you all for joining. Please reach out, comment, like, share, all that good stuff. If you want to communicate with any of us individually, you can do so online, and we'll see you next time.
What's online mean?
The internet. Bye-bye.
Get off Facebook.